We'll take it at 5, 4, 3, 2.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to welcome to the May 21st, 2019 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. And we're very blessed this morning to have Pastor Justin Wolk from the North Metro Church lead us in invocation, and our own officer Rott will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So those who are willing and able, please stand.
Good morning. Will you pray with me? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning. First of all, we thank you that we woke up and we have breath in our lungs. That alone is a gift from you. There are a lot of desires and agendas this morning, and Father, what I pray for is the wisdom and the ability for all of us, not just our officials, but us as county members and our constituents. Father, I pray all of us will leverage our influence for the sake of others. That's what I pray over this meeting today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate you coming by this morning, giving us your blessing. Have a great day. Before we get started in today's business, a true stalwart of the Cobb community has gone to our Lord's house. She has a room already reserved to her with all kinds of zoning applications sitting on a desk. So I'd like, if we could, just to have a long moment of silence for a terrific lady, Trish Steiner, who did so much to make this county great in so many different ways. And I know flights of angels guided her to her rest. May she rest in peace. Hey, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to our guests today. Welcome. Today's hearing will be conducted with the following process and procedure. Each case will be called in numerical order. When each case is called, would the applicant please stand to signify that they are here so they can be counted for the record. Then we are going to call for anyone opposed to stand and raise your hands so they can be counted for the official record. After the counting of the opposition, the applicant and any opposition will be asked to come forward to be sworn in so they can present testimony to the Board of Commissioners. The applicant will testify first, and then the opposition, if any, will testify second. It's very important to note that each side only gets 10 minutes to state their case or concerns. There's not a rebuttal process. There's not a process to reserve your time. So convey all your information to the Board of Commissioners within your 10-minute time period. Additionally, if there's more than one person who wishes to speak on a case, you might want to coordinate with each other about what you're going to talk about because each side only gets 10 minutes and you don't want to cover the same information twice. Then after both sides have had their 10-minute presentation period, the Board of Commissioners will start to discuss the case at hand. From the discussion, they may ask one or more speakers to come back to the front for questions or comments. After that, the Board will make a decision to either approve, deny, hold, or continue the case at hand. There are a number of cases on today's agenda which have been withdrawn and will not be heard today. First case is rezoning case Z25 of 2019, Second and 26 LLC. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. Land use permit number 8 of 2019, Padmesh Kankapate. That case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. Land use permit number 11 of 2019, Jeanette Glenn. This case has been withdrawn without prejudice and will not be heard today. Mr. Board of Commissioners, there are a number of cases on today's printed agenda which have been continued or held and will not be heard today. First case is rezoning case Z37 of 2018, Winchester Parkway LLC. That case was continued by the staff until the August 6, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z37 of 2018 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z71 of 2018, Pope and Land Enterprises Incorporated. This case was continued by the staff until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. And just a side note, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the staff is going to continue Z71 of 2018, Pope and Land until the August zoning cycle. So we're going to get that into the paper next week. Rezoning case Z77 of 2018, Ackworth Baker Grove LLC. That case was continued by staff until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z77 of 2018 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z82 of 2018, IBO Union Atlanta. That case was held by the Planning Commission until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z82 of 2018 will not be heard today. SLEP 13 of 2018, Kennesaw Jewish Center Incorporated. That case was held by the Board of Commissioners until the June 18th, 2019 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So SLEP 13 of 2018 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z12 of 2019, Fatima Goodman, Codges 401k Trust. This was continued by the staff until the June 18th, 2019 Board of Commissioners zoning hearing. So Z12 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z24 of 2019, Cheryl Upshaw Family Trust. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z24 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z26 of 2019, Southern Land Partners LLC. This case was held by the Planning Commission until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z26 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z28 of 2019, Ellenwood MCRE LP. This case was continued by the staff until the June 14th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z28 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z29 of 2019, Corner Point Partners LLC. This case was continued by the Planning Commission until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z29 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z31 of 2019, AIM Freight Trucking Logistics LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z31 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z33 of 2019, the DeVille Group of Companies Incorporated. This case was continued by the staff until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z33 of 2019 will not be heard today. Rezoning case Z34 of 2019, Arlene F. Paisley and Sherry Lynn Wade. This case was continued by the staff until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So Z34 of 2019 will not be heard today. LEP 12 of 2019, Margarita Zazuda request was continued by the Planning Commission until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So LUP 12 of 2019 will not be heard today. SLEP 4 of 2019, A1 Autocores LLC. This case was continued by the staff until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So SLEP 4 of 2019 will not be heard today. SLEP 6 of 2019, Corner Point Partners LLC. This case was continued by the Planning Commission until the June 4th, 2019 Planning Commission zoning hearing. So SLEP 6 of 2019 will not be heard today. Mr. Chairman, Board, there are two cases in which that need to be continued today that are not on the printed agenda. First case is rezoning case Z70 of 2018, the Washburn Group LLC. The staff is asking the board to continue this until your next zoning hearing, Mr. Chairman, because the district commissioner is not here today.
Yeah, thank you, John. And for those, Commissioner Gambrell had a death in the family, so we want to wish her all our sympathy and condolences on her loss. And she's asked us to pull this case because she's not here in attendance to discuss it. So I think we need a motion to pull that, right?
Yes.
So I would like to make a motion that we continue Z70. We have a second. Any further discussion? Call the question. Passes 4-0 with Commissioner Gambrell in absence.
Thank you.
To the June
The June 18th hearing date.
board hearing, yes, sir.
And second case is rezoning case Z9 of 2019, Blake Properties Incorporated. This case does need to be continued, Mr. Chairman. It does need a little bit more work, so the staff is asking the board to continue this case.
And that's Commissioner Cupid, I believe.
Yes, I move that we continue Z9 to the June zoning hearing.
A second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 4-0 with Commissioner Gambrell in absence.
Okay, so that case will be continued until the June 18th hearing date. I would like to ask the people in today's audience, if you have a cell phone, please turn the volume off on your cell phone. The ringing does interfere with broadcasts and presentations. Any person wishing to speak before the Board of Commissioners must file a campaign contribution disclosure statement if within 2 years immediately preceding the filing of a rezoning application. A campaign contribution totaling $250 or more is made to a current member of the Board of Commissioners.
Hey, John, 1 second. I just want to make sure that those who are leaving, you're leaving because your case will not be heard today. So I just want to make sure about that.
Yes, thank you for the number of you who are here. I did communicate to some residents, but apparently there are a lot more who are present. There are just some outstanding issues and concerns with that application. I encourage you to please reach out to me via email if you have anything in particular you would like to be considered prior to the June hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming today. Thank you. Okay, John,
Thank you.
thank you for your,
And I want to remind applicants, opposition, or any interested party that information is due to this board the Wednesday prior to this hearing. Any information submitted to this board after the Wednesday due date may or may not be considered by the board at their discretion. Mr. Chairman, Board, there is one request for an early head count. Can I get a show of people here who are opposed to other business number 28, Mount Bethel Christian Academy Incorporated? Please stand up and raise your hands. How many? 14? Let the record show there's 14 people here opposed. Can I get a show of people here who are in support of other business number 28? Please stand up and raise your hands. That's 4. Let the record show there's 4 people here in support of other business number 28. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to start the consent agenda.
please.
Thank you. Cobb County Board of Commissioners zoning hearing consent agenda for May 21st, 2019. First case on consent is rezoning case Z13 of 2019, Amber Shea LLC. And they are requesting a rezoning from PSC to CRC for the purpose of an assembly hall in land lot 1298 of the 19th District. The property is located on the south side of Veterans Memorial Highway and on the north side of Old Powder Springs Road. The Planning Commission recommends deletion to the NRC zoning district subject to the following conditions. Site plan received by the zoning division on December 6, 2018 with the following changes. A, the drive-through teller attached to the eastern building to be removed, including canopy and raised concrete to be replaced with paving. B, the existing driveway for the drive-through teller to be converted to a one-way traffic entering from Old Powder Springs Road and exiting onto Veterans Memorial Highway. At least 6 parallel parking spaces to be added to the eastern side of the driveway. Additional paving may be added if necessary to meet county ordinance requirements. C, a dumpster enclosure to be added adjacent to the rear of the eastern building, which is on the Old Powder Springs roadside. The enclosure to meet county standards and have steel doors. The exterior shall be brick or architectural block that is complementary to the building exterior and shall not be standard concrete block. Letter of agreeable conditions from Mr. Parks Huff dated May 1st, 2019, not otherwise in conflict. Additional use of the Assembly Hall subject to the parking easement as detailed in the letter from Mr. Parks Huff, as stipulated in number 2 above, with the neighboring property to the east being in full force and having excess parking capacity necessary to meet the parking needs of the subject property. Applicant to provide a copy of the parking easement to the zoning division, which Mr. Huff did yesterday in a letter dated May 20th, 2019, and I believe all the board was copied on that, including the clerk. Should the parking easement cease or be reduced, all uses on the property to fully comply with ordinance parking requirements. Letter of agreeable conditions from Ms. Robin Meyer of the Maplewood Improvement Coalition dated April 30th, 2019, not otherwise in conflict with the following changes. A, for bullets number 1 and number 2, the district commissioner approval is only necessary if the committees, which are landscaping and architectural review, are not in full agreement of the plans. B, Delete bullet number 6, as the parking easement is already addressed. 7, no events to be held in the Assembly Hall during the times of church worship services because there is not enough parking to accommodate both. 8, renovations and landscaping to meet the Veterans Memorial Highway Design Guidelines. 9, maximum capacity of the Assembly Hall to be 140 people, including both indoor and outdoor areas. Maximum capacity for the church use to be 204 people. 10, all paint to be removed from the exterior brick. 11, exterior trim to be painted with the same color or neutral colors unless otherwise approved by the District Commissioner or the Architectural Review Committee. 12, there is to be a minimum of 32 striped parking spaces added to the property immediately to the east of the subject property, which is 1301 Veterans Memorial Highway, which is a car wash. Striping of spaces is to be maintained. 13, there is to be a minimum of 10 striped parking spaces added to the rear of 1289 Veterans Memorial Highway, which is the building next to the car wash. Striping of spaces is to be maintained. 14, all signs to meet a current county ordinance. No signs are to be grandfathered. 15, any amplified sound, whether indoors or outdoors, shall not be plainly audible at a distance of 50 feet from the property line at any time a person who is not hearing impaired, for a person who is not hearing impaired. Additionally, section 50-257, enumeration of prohibited noises applies where more restrictive. 16, all doors for public use for the Assembly Hall to have airlocks to reduce sound escaping from the building. No doors are to be kept open during the events. 17, staff comments and recommendations not otherwise in conflict. 18, the district commissioner may approve minor modifications except for those that A, increase the overall building square footage, B, reduces the on-site or off-site parking, C, change that conflicts with an express stipulation or condition of zoning, D, requires a variance or violates Cobb County ordinance. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z13 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
John, I have some changes to make to some of those conditions.
Yes, ma'am.
As discussed with the applicant and the Mableton Improvement Coalition. The first one, the letter dated 5/1, bullet 4 should be modified. It provides the hours of operation for the event facility will be limited to Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. That should state 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., 12 a.m., not 12 p.m., and Sunday noon to 10 p.m. This zoning is also subject to the letter provided by Parks Huff on May 20th, which I will provide to the clerk if not received. There should be a modification to bullet number 2. Bullet number 1. It provides the approval is subject to the site plan received by the zoning division on December 6, 2018. The drive-through canopy will not be removed as requested by the recommendation because it is anticipated that it will be converted to a covered entrance at a later date. This statement here is to supersede the Planning Commission condition 1A that the drive-through teller attached to the eastern building will be removed, including canopy and raised concrete, and be replaced with paving. Also, the next sentence, the dumpster enclosure is only required if the applicant uses a dumpster for trash service. Any other trash receptacles, and add in the words, must be smaller and shall be shielded from view from the adjacent roadways. And this is to supersede the Planning Commission's condition 1C, where it is not in conflict. So 1C for the Planning Commission shall apply if there is a dumpster used, but should there not be a dumpster used, then the condition of the May 20th letter, number 1 should stand as long as the trash receptacle is smaller than a dumpster. Okay, and going back to the Planning Commission minutes, I'd like to strike 6A and just let the MIC comment pertaining to the Architectural Review Committee stand. Also, modification to bullet 15, and strike that and just provide that the county sound ordinance shall apply.
Okay.
Because due to the level of subjectivity of number 15, it will be very difficult to enforce. Also modify bullet 16 to remove the first sentence per the letter dated May 20th by Parks Huff, and just keep no doors are to be kept open during staff events. And those are all the changes. And just want to confirm with the applicant that you're agreeable to those changes. And Mableton Improvement Coalition, okay. Thank you.
Okay, clerk has all that? Got it, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Commissioner. Next case on consent is rezoning case Z20 of 2019, Ashley Carmen. Request rezoning from R30 to R20 for the purpose of 3 single-family houses in land lot 434 of the 19th district. The property is located on the north side of Macklin Road, east of Bullard Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval to the R20 zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Applicant to provide evidence of a boundary line and easement agreement entered into by all 3 property owners, which are Marvin and Marlene Jansen, Debbie Muma, and Teresa Ball, whereby the property owners abide by the boundaries shown on the attached revised site plan received by the zoning division on March 15, 2019, and whereby the property owners will utilize the easements on each of the 3 lots as set forth in the boundary line and easement agreement. Number 2, staff comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z20 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Rezoning case Z27 of 2019, CarMax Auto Superstores Incorporated. Request rezoning from GC to LI for the purpose of an expansion of an existing CarMax facility in land lots 421 and 482 of the 18th district. The property is located on the west side of Oak Ridge Parkway, accessed by Thornton Road in Douglas County. The Planning Commission recommends approval to the LI zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Site plan received by the zoning division on February 6, 2019, with the district commissioner approve minor modifications. Number 2, landscape plan incorporating reduced buffer requirements due to floodplain area to the north to be approved by the county arborist. 3, expanded area to be accessed only through the existing CarMax location from the Douglas County side. 4, fire department comments and recommendations. 5, stormwater management division comments and recommendations. 6, water and sewer division comments and recommendations. And 7, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z27 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Rezoning case Z30 of 2019, Sheldon Edwards, requests a rezoning from R20 to CRC for the purpose of a plumbing contractor in land lot 839 of the 19th district. The property is located on the northwest side of Powder Springs Road and on the south side of Pine Grove Road. The Planning Commission recommends deletion to the NRC zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Revised site plan dated March 12, 2019, with the following changes. A, access to Powder Springs Road to be removed. B, parking can be modified to remove parking from the front and add more to the rear. C, 8-foot landscape enhancement strip to be placed along Powder Springs Road frontage. County arborist to approve the landscape plan and all buffers. D, a 20-foot landscape buffer to be installed from the rear of the house to the rear property line on Pine Grove Road. E, a 6-foot tall privacy fence to be installed along the western property line from the front corner of the house to the rear property line. 2, the buffer to be at least 6 foot tall at the time of planting. And number 3, staff comments and recommendations that are otherwise in conflict. The applicant's representative is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z30 of 2019? Mr. Chairman, there's one person opposed, so we'll pull that off consent here in its normal order. Okay.
This is Mr. Michael Pope that's here today. He was here at the Planning Commission meeting, and we revised the site plan and the stipulation letter on May the 15th. and you've got that. There's one other stipulation he would like to add, and that is that there's no outside storage of trailers or equipment on the property. I wanted to add that as a condition, and we're amenable to that, if that's satisfactory to you as the
Yes,
district
it is,
commissioner.
but I would like to have the resident also approach.
Sure. Mr. Pope?
Does that swearing in stand? All right, we'll take it. Mr. Pope,
Are you fine with that stipulation, sir?
Oh, I'm agreeable with that, yes.
Okay.
I was talking to Ms. Sams, and there was just some items that I wasn't clear about, and I just
Okay.
wanted to, I'll always be opposed to this, being zoned this way, but, as the advisory panels, in so many words, said, I can move if I don't like it, but anyway, thank you for that, and Mr. Sams has been very nice about giving the arborvitae,
Okay,
in there
so-
with the county arborist, and
So you're fine with the stipulation?
with what he's added, absolutely, yes.
Okay, so we're good.
Chairman, I still have additional questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Sir, do you have any outstanding opposition beyond that stipulation?
No, like I said, it was just some items, like the additional parking in the back. I didn't know, one of my questions I had was if they're gonna continue to park vehicles in the front and on the side, I was wanting the privacy fence maybe to continue the full length of the
Yes,
property line.
the stipulation provides that parking will be provided to the rear, and actually I was going to strike condition, or, yes, condition 1B, where it says parking can be modified to remove parking from the front to add more parking in the rear, and just provide parking shall be provided in the rear, because the access point off Powder Springs Road will be removed.
Okay.
Yeah, so there'll
So-
be no parking in the front.
So the parking out front will be shifted to the rear, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. So I would ask that we still keep this on consent and add the additional stipulation, but also emphasize that the parking area to the rear of the property is to be paved per site plan. Yes, sir.
I just have a question. Can we, Cornelius, could you put the, what you just had back up on the screen?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused about front, rear, the rear, and, because you said the access on Powder Springs Road is gonna go away?
Yes, so parking will be from Pine Grove towards the rear of the property.
And this is gonna be a commercial property?
Yes, similar to other commercial properties on Powder Springs Road.
Okay, so the access is gonna be on Pine Grove,
Yes,
or residential street?
yeah,
Okay,
which has more room for parking, and there's significant buffering that will be added in addition to a privacy fence
in the front?
in the rear. Again, because parking will be to the rear, there'll be significant buffering to the west side of the property, which is adjacent to Mr. Pope's property, in addition to.
I
the
guess,
privacy
yes, my
fence.
question is, when you're saying the rear, you're talking about the part that's against Powder Springs Road?
The rear is Pine Grove Drive. The building faces
Well,
Powder
that-
Springs Road.
That will now be the front, though, because there's only one access point.
The access point will be to the rear on Pine Grove.
Right.
I hear what
You
you're saying.
know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying, right?
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but normally the access to a property is in the front of the property. And so
Yes.
really, you're saying that it's still gonna be facing Powder Springs Road, but the
building will
access is
face-
gonna
will
be in
to
the rear.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And is Mr.
Pope?
Pope,
Mhm.
is this his house at 19-8?
Yes, that's his home.
And there will be a fence on that side?
Yes. You're welcome.
I think for clarification purposes, if you would just indicate that the parking will be on the Pine Grove Drive side.
Okay, that's indicated in the stipulation
Okay,
letters, but
that's
you can
fine.
reemphasize
Yeah.
verbally that the parking will be provided to the rear of the property.
Access by the Pine Grove Drive.
Okay.
That'll be fine. Yeah.
I would like to finish my condition,
Sure.
but per the chairman's statement.
Well,
That's all.
Okay.
I do have one question, Commissioner Cubit.
Yes, sir.
Did you include Garver Sam's letter dated May 15, 2019? That includes
Yes.
the revised site plan also?
Thank you. Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
include that also. Thank you. Rezoning case Z32 of 2019, Chuck Clancy Ford of Marietta LLC, care of Ellen W. Smith, requesting rezoning from GC to LI for the purpose of a building addition in land lot 285 of the 17th district. The property is located on the southwest corner of South Cobb Drive and Pearl Street. The Planning Commission recommends approval to the LI zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Site plan and building elevations received by the zoning division on March 8, 2019, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications. Variances as listed in the zoning division comments, fire department comments and recommendations, stormwater management division comments and recommendations, water and sewer division comments and recommendations, and Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z32 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Commissioner Burrow has a comment.
Yes, we received some additional revised comments from DOT yesterday, May 20th, and I would like to add to number 7, and I have a copy for the clerk. Number 7 says, recommend the gated entry on Pearl Street be redesigned to accommodate U-turns and prevent queuing into the right-of-way. And we'd like to add, we recommend that the gated entry on Pearl Street be redesigned to accommodate U-turns and prevent queuing into the right-of-way. Preferred location to be 25 feet from the right-of-way, but final gate setback and design to be determined in plan review.
Okay, got it.
And the applicant is agreeable to that. Correct? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question to DOT.
Yeah.
You sent that to us yesterday. Did you send it to the applicant also? Okay. I have a little bit of concern. I mean, we sit here and tell the developers they got to have everything in, and then our own departments are putting something in the day before.
No. We've been in discussion with them, with Ellen, for the whole time.
Okay.
And she actually agreed to this language by email yesterday. She sent it to us.
That's
And
correct.
DOT's agreeable.
Ashley White with Department of Transportation. This came about after conversations with the applicant over the
Okay,
past
yeah,
week.
you just might want to say that because it sounded when it was, that all of a sudden we got this change yesterday.
No, it's came about from continued
Okay, all right.
conversation.
So you can stay right there. I'm looking here, there's a clerk's note that the applicant wants to address the board. I mean, are you speaking for the applicant here?
No.
So why does the applicant want to address the board if this is a consent item?
What are
I'm
you
sorry,
reading
you said the applicant wants to address
I'm
the
looking
board?
on my green sheet here. It says on the very bottom. Yeah. The Chairman Williams announced that there's a DOT issue that the applicant's representative will address at the Board of Commissioners zoning.
I'm
hearing.
not sure where that came from. She said she didn't make that request, so I'm not sure why that's
Okay, all right, I'm
recorded.
just asking, I mean. And the other question I have is the fire department. So you're gonna drive in Douglas County to get to this place? I'm still in Z32, right? Yeah, right. This is the one, where you're extending the park, you're widening, they're right on the county line?
No.
No,
Okay,
This
I
is South
apologize.
Cobb Drive.
South Cobb Drive and Pearl Street.
And
It is
Pearl.
Z32, I believe.
It's
My-
C32.
All right, I apologize. My Z32 is not your Z32, but I'll go with your Z32 because everybody's on board with it. Thanks. Thanks, Ellen. Weird.
Okay, rezoning case Z36 of 2019, Lucas Hathaway, request rezoning from NS to CRC for the purpose of a professional office in land lot 642 of the 16th district. The property is located on the south side of Ernest Barrett Parkway, west of Bells Ferry Road. The Planning Commission recommends deletion to the NRC zoning district, subject to the following conditions. Site plan received by the zoning division on February 27, 2019, with the district commission approving minor modifications. Variance as listed in the zoning division comments, fire department comments and recommendations, water and sewer division comments and recommendations, and Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed? Rezoning case Z36 of 2019. Let the record show there's no one opposed. And moving into land use permits on the consent agenda, LUP 9 of 2019, Anna Thomas Hughes requests a land use permit for the purpose of a medical hardship for a temporary placement of a mobile home in land lot 1082 and 1083 of the 19th district. The property is located on the west side of Hemlock Drive, on the north side of Springdale Road, and on the eastern end of Nels Drive. The Planning Commission recommends approval for 12 months, subject to the following conditions. Site plan received by the zoning division on April 26, 2019. No access to Hemlock Drive. Mobile home to come in on Springdale Road, and staff comments and recommendations not otherwise in conflict. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to LEP 9 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Chairman, I would like to address the applicant.
Sure, no problem.
Morning.
Good morning, Ms. Hughes. In the application, there is a thought that you will be subdividing this parcel.
Oh, no.
You will not be moving forward
No,
with
ma'am.
that? Okay, great. Just want to make sure of that. Thank you. Everything is a lot easier now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that it? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving into special land use permits on the consent agenda. SLEP 5 of 2019, CarMax Auto Superstores Incorporated requests a special land use permit for the purpose of an expansion of an existing CarMax facility in land lots 421 and 483 of the 18th district. The property is located on the northeast side of Thornton Road, west of Oak Ridge Parkway. The Planning Commission recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Site plan received by the zoning division on February 6, 2019, with the district commissioner approving minor modifications. Number 2, landscape plan incorporating reduced buffer requirements due to floodplain area to the north to be approved by the county arborist. 3, expanded area to be accessed only through the existing CarMax location from the Douglas County side. 4, fire department comments and recommendations. 5, stormwater management division comments and recommendations. 6, water and sewer division comments and recommendations. And 7, Department of Transportation comments and recommendations. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to SLEP 5 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed.
Okay, so now I'm on the right one this time. It says, I'm looking at my worksheet here, and it says under fire department, no comments. But you say that on your stipulations, you know, that you have to comply with the fire department comments. So
Okay, we can strike that one, Mr. Chairman.
I'm just curious. I'm totally confused already. That's evident. I just want to make sure I haven't gone beyond the edge here.
You're doing great, Mr. Chairman.
So I know, loosen my tie. I get
So we're strike number 4 off the consent.
duly noted. All right. And then the other part was, this is the one that's on the county line.
That's correct.
And the access to the property, this property, they would have to go into Douglas County and come back around the backside.
That's correct.
Okay, and there's no issue with that? That we can we can drive into Douglas County and come back around into the county line? We're okay with that?
We won't let something as simple as a county line permit.
Well, on that note, I'm fine. Thank you for reassuring me.
Moving into other business on the consent agenda. Other business item number 24 of 2019 is to consider a site plan amendment for Crawford Creek Home Builders LLC regarding rezoning case Z48 of 2004. The property is located on the east side of George Busby Parkway, on the north side of Plaza Park Walk in land lot 502 and 507 of the 16th district. Staff recommends approval, subject to the proposed site plan contained in the other business packet, and all previous stipulations not in conflict with this amendment to remain in effect. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 24? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 25 of 2019 is to consider a site plan amendment for HD Development of Maryland Incorporated regarding rezoning application Z80 of 1997 for property located on the north side of Dallas Highway, east of Barrett Parkway, in land lot 329 of the 20th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Proposed site plan contained in the other business packet. The district commissioner to approve the area of outdoor displays of merchandise. Fire lanes be kept clear of outdoor storage and outdoor displays of merchandise, and all previous stipulations not in conflict with this amendment to remain in effect. Is the applicant present? The applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 25 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business item number 26 of 2019 is to consider a site plan and stipulation amendment for Timothy C. Huffman and Jessica A. Huffman regarding rezoning case Z47 of 1999 and rezoning case Z97 of 2005. The property is located on the southeasterly side of Steelhouse Road at River Oaks Drive in land lot 977 of the 17th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Subject to the previously approved site plan with no net fill in the floodplain and minimum floor elevation above the 100-year floodplain and dam breach zone elevations. Stormwater management to approve the final site plan. Site is subject to the sanitary sewer easement and easement setback restrictions per Cobb County Code 122-123. And all previous stipulations not in conflict with this amendment to remain in effect. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 26 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed. Other business number 27 of 2019 is to consider a site plan amendment for the Young Men's Christian Association of Metropolitan Atlanta Incorporated regarding application SLEP 7 of 2003 for property located on the west side of East Piedmont Road and on the north side of Roswell Road in land lot 959 and 986 of the 16th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Site plan received by the zoning division on April 16, 2019, subject to site plan review and Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet. The applicant's representative is present. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 27 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And finally, other business item number 29 of 2019 is to consider a site plan amendment for PGA Traymore LLC regarding rezoning application Z22 of 2013 for property located on the east side of Traymore Point Parkway, south of the east-west connector in land lot 861 of the 19th District. Staff recommends approval, subject to the following conditions. Proposed site plan contained in the other business packet, subject to site plan review, Cobb DOT comments contained in the other business packet, and all previous stipulations not in conflict with this amendment to remain in effect. Is the applicant present? Let the record show the applicant is here. Is there anyone here opposed to other business item number 29 of 2019? Let the record show there's no one opposed. And that completes the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman and Board, but the applicant for one of the items would like to make one comment for Z36 of 2019. Would the applicant please come forward?
I'm applicant Z36, 2019. Everything is agreeable. This is my dad. We're the co-applicants. Everything is agreeable with what you guys said, but I put in comments for the existing sign to be used, and I just didn't see that in here. There's an existing structure still standing on the property, but I guess it's not what you guys want it to be. And the question being, is that something that we can approve? If you see to the top left where the bushes are, right there's a pole standing there. to reuse that is what we would like to do. But the site plan review said that it had to be a monument, which would reduce its size. And if you're at the front of the property, there's a 20-foot or so wall that you can't even see the building. And then from the 575 side, from the left side of the property, you can't see the existing building. So that sign is all of our frontage from the front right corner, front left corner.
That's yours, Commissioner Burrow?
Well, it's an existing pole sign. Correct, John?
It's an existing pole.
No, when this has been vacant and you come back in to rezone, we don't allow pole signs anymore on this, well, whatever they're called. I call them pole signs. And we are converting everything to monument base. But you're saying there's a wall there where the parking is?
There's a retaining wall in the front of the property. It's, if you're standing in the front of the property, like from that middle lane on Barrett Parkway, you cannot see the building.
Yeah, there's definitely a shadow on the road from that wall. It's a granite wall.
Okay.
And then the
And
same
that's a
thing is
D-
true. You're
That's
up on
our
a,
DOT. Yeah,
Yes, we did that.
because we've been making a lot of improvements on Barrett Parkway there.
yes, ma'am.
How high is the retaining wall? Do we know? 4 feet?
20 to 25 feet.
Oh, is that tall?
It's pretty tall.
Okay. And there's nothing operating out of that location right now, or?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So would he need to have a variance?
And normally the sign code grandfathers a pole sign unless you take it all the way down, no matter what. You know, I'm not seeing any comments in here from site plan review regarding the pole sign.
They were saying that so the pole is still standing, just the cabinet has been removed. And they were saying because the cabinet has been removed.
Okay, well, if the cabinet has been removed, then the sign has to go, unless the board says it's okay.
Yeah. Well, it is a hardship if
Yeah.
there's a wall that
It's a
it
hardship.
can't be
Come on.
seen.
Our goal is to use what exactly was there. It's just a cabinet that had BB&T's name in it. It would say
Okay.
Farmers Insurance.
There's a
So
to-
you'll just be revising that to the sign to reflect what the business is now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm okay with that because of the wall. I mean,
Okay, well, how about we put condition in that the existing pole sign can remain with the district commission approving
With the what?
the final look of the sign.
yeah,
So the
You'll need to-
previous BB&T sign to remain just with the new business, is what you're saying?
right.
Yes, ma'am.
But it needs to come back to me for approval, the final, once you've got it marked and everything drawn.
Yes, ma'am.
Just bring it back for final approval.
Just don't take down the wall.
Yeah. We'll leave the wall as long as you guys will let us use the sign.
Somebody would be very proud of that wall.
Now,
It's a beautiful wall.
okay, thank you.
It's a common sense approach.
Yeah.
Really, I mean.
And John, do you know if the sign that's there now, the cabinet meets sign ordinance standards and everything from BB&T?
It probably does, Commissioner Burrow, except for the pole sign aspect of it.
Right, but if he's gonna, you're replacing the cabinet, or are you gonna keep it the same size, or?
Exactly the same. If there's the original plan on file, which the sign company said there was, it's a certain size sign, and we would
Okay.
just be putting back that same
And we want to
size.
exceed that size, Commissioner Burrow.
Yeah, I still have to see it to approve
And
it.
in the packet, we did send in the pole mock-up of what it would look like, if that's in the packet.
Okay, we're good.
Okay,
Cool.
We got the language,
yeah,
so we'll go ahead.
And that doesn't affect anything with the zoning, it's just I need to bring it back to you, Ms. Burrell.
Right, for the approval
you
of the
can
sign.
just email me the sign, and I'll get with the sign department and make sure it's the right size and everything to approve.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as revised.
Second,
Any discussion? Call the question, passes 4-0 with Commissioner Gamble in absence. Okay,
All those folks that are on consent
John,
agenda, you're free to
one
go.
second, please. I believe the family of Trish Steiner is in the audience, and if they are still here, I just want to express the condolences of the board, and you receive our deepest most heartfelt sympathies on the passing of Tricia. Sure.
Thank you for being here. You know, your mom and your wife, Mo, was a true advocate at our zoning hearings. She's been a treasure to work with, and we're going to miss her terribly, especially me, because I always requested her for ECCA for my cases. So thank you for being here. It means a lot, and we wish you all the best, and we'll keep you in our prayers. God bless.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, John, I believe you have one continuing case to be heard.
Yes, sir. Rezoning case Z11 of 2019, Family Life Restoration Center Incorporated. Request rezoning from NRC to LI for the purpose of a homeless development center and shelter and current uses in land lot 270 of the 18th District. The property is located on the southwestern side of Mapleton Parkway, north of Susan Drive. The applicant is present. Is there anyone here opposed to rezoning case Z11? Please stand up and raise your hands. And let the record show there's 15 people here opposed to rezoning case Z11 of 2019. Can I get a show of people here who are in support of rezoning case Z11? Please stand up, raise your hands. Let the record show there's 12 people here in support of rezoning case Z11 of 2019. All those folks wishing to address the board on either side, please come forward to be sworn in.
Morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Kevin Moore here on behalf of the applicant and owner, Family Life Restoration Center, in this application. On your screen, and for those in the audience, but on your screen you see the property that's highlighted there on Mapleton Parkway. You can see this particular area of Mapleton Parkway has a good many more aged commercial, other types of uses such as that along this stretch of Mapleton Parkway. There's also, as you can see, and I know you'll hear about, there's also a residential subdivision located across Mapleton Parkway from this property. Family Life Restoration Center, though, is proposing a program that serves homeless men by providing for job and workforce training with residency. The number one thing I can give to you today, regardless of the decision that this board reaches, I hope that you will understand that what Family Life Restoration Center is proposing is not a homeless shelter. That's not what's being proposed. Whatever your opinion or your ultimate decision, please do not make that decision based on a belief or the misunderstanding that what we are proposing is a homeless shelter. It's not. At this location and at its sister location, Family Life Restoration Center has continued to serve the homeless population that is there in the Mapleton community and that grows. It is serving those that need it today and has been serving that homeless population every day for a good number of years. And in fact, this subject location was approved in 2012 to provide for homeless services and homeless programs at this location in 2012, which Family Life Restoration Center has done. Pastor Luther Washington, him and his wife, who run Family Life Restoration Center in concert with their board of trustees, has done a tremendous job serving the community, serving the homeless population. Even during that time period, for 5 years, they operated a jobs training program with residency for homeless men. They thought they had that approved in 2012. In fact, many members of the community thought that that's what they were approved for. It was only later discovered when they understood that they were not. But they successfully ran that program. Now they're here before you in this zoning application to present that program and receive full board approval so they can continue to support the community, to bring value to the community by addressing a vital need in this community for serving this population. That is, homeless men who have now made a commitment to change their lives and enter a workforce training program with residency. As it stands right now, this property serves the homeless population and provides services and meets that need. But it does so in a variety of different ways. If one of the concerns is we're suddenly going to be having the gathering of homeless in this area, the gathering of homeless at this property, uncontrolled, well, what we're proposing is a program that is a controlled environment that will not have that occur. That's what Family Life Restoration Center is proposing, and I'll go through that with you. Right now, what they currently do is provide those services absent the residency component. So turning now, if I could, to the slides. First, you can see what the proposed building will look like if this is approved for a jobs training program with residency. That jobs training program is one that's very strict, has strict rules. It prohibits alcohol use, drug use. It prohibits loitering. People and homeless men that enter this program commit to the strict guidelines of the program. The maximum length of stay is 1 year. The average length of stay is 6 months. When they graduate from the program, during the time that they're in the program, what Family Life Restoration Center does is they have the relationships with local employers, and these men learn how to work again, learn how to value themselves again, learn how to value their families again, learn how to become useful members of society again from the inside out. And that's what's being provided to them through this job training program. It puts them to work, provides that value to themselves, and does so in a tightly controlled, secure environment. And that's what's proposed at this location. After approval, these would be the upgrades to the exterior of this building that you can see here. In addition, when you look through these slides, what you will see is the detail for what would be provided to the interior with classrooms, kitchen space, recreation, dining hall, residential space. What we have proposed is a maximum of 50 participants to be allowed in this program. During our time with the Planning Commission, we did agree that could be staged over a 3-year period of time if things go according to how they have done it in the past, and that is a maximum of 30 in the first year, a maximum of 40 in the second year, and a maximum of 50 in year 3. But at any time, that could be pulled back and hearings held if there was in fact problems being created. Again, looking through the slides, what you can see is the level of detail that is provided here, as well as what does the community need to succeed? What do homeless men need to succeed and become a part of a program that actually takes them out of homelessness and gives them a home? It gives them a purpose, gives them jobs training. They need their community, they need their skills, they need their good health, and they need their support. That's what this program does. It is not a temporary shelter for homeless to show up at 6 o'clock in the evening and find a place to stay and perhaps a meal and leave again in the morning. That is not what is being proposed here. Intake does not occur at this location. It occurs somewhere else. Once you're at this location, you have passed through this tight screening process for being committed to the program, for being drug and alcohol free. In addition, you can see the community spaces that are provided as part of these plans. You also see the level of detail and quality that's being proposed for this program facility. The training that occurs daily, the classroom space, cyber labs, preparation areas, kitchen, all of this designed to support and provide for the job training and residency requirements for these men so that they can, again, become productive members of society. The Family Life Restoration Center always states that life begins with a family and life ends with a family. And why would you not make sure that you're a part of your family? That's what Family Life Restoration Center has done. I've been involved in this case now, it seems like months on end, as we've met with community members, had community meetings. I've read every single email of opposition, and I've read every single email of support. It's passionate in both directions and on both parts. The support for Family Life Restoration Center and their efforts and the value that they bring to the community is extremely passionate. I understand that those who are opposed to this have their reasons, don't want to see something in their community that they think will bring down the value of their community. But what can bring more value to a community than making sure those that are underserved, underprivileged, who don't have the opportunity, who have nowhere else to go, what can be more valuable to community than providing that service to those individuals to bring them out of that circumstance so they're not simply standing around walking up and down the streets. That's what Pastor Washington has done and continues to do and wants to do in this instance. With that, I'm going to conclude my remarks because I know there's somebody else that wants to speak in favor that spoke to me earlier today, but would respectfully request your approval subject to the stipulations contained in our letter. Thank you.
And just because of the volume of emails on both sides, we're going to extend this for both parties by 2 minutes, make it 12 on each side, okay? And if we need more, we'll do more.
Good morning, Commissioners. Commissioner Boyce, Chairman Boyce. I feel a special sense of responsibility with this program. I'm Benita Dodd with the Georgia Public Policy Foundation. I am despite my accent, I've been in Cobb County my entire U.S. existence, 33 years this year. And I would never recommend anything that would bring any harm to Cobb County. We're a free market think tank. I came to you, Chairman Boyce, talking about the value of this program sometime last year when there was a lot of discussion about what to do about the homeless challenge in Cobb County. And I talked to you about Georgia Works, the program that would be partnering with Family Life Restoration. I have followed this program through the years. The program, which originally started in Atlanta, has graduated more than 600 individuals who were formerly chronically homeless. I have personally visited the site. I have personally attended the graduations. I have personally invited some of these men, some of these graduates, to meet with Congressman Doug Collins at the Georgian Club at the Georgia Public Policy Foundation events. And these are some shining examples of men who have turned their lives around, who have united and reunited with families who were long lost to them, who have made a commitment to be drug-free, to become homeless, homed, working and productive citizens. And I am so proud to stand behind Bill McGann, who is the founder of this program, who has turned these men's lives around with not a dime of taxpayer money. This is a program, not a shelter. I would say it's a college for homeless men to become working citizens again. And I know because of the zero tolerance policy that they have, that I would be happy to move this program into my neighborhood in East Cobb County. I don't know about the rest of the residents in my neighborhood, but I have personally experienced almost every stage of this program. I've observed it, and I would encourage you to reconsider the zoning, the zoning board's recommendation to not approve this. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Pamela Reardon. Today, I'm speaking as an East Cobb resident. I am speaking as a citizen who has been involved the last year in opportunity zones, working with the governor, working with the White House, and working to prevent gentrification of minority communities. I stand here with this proposal because these are programs that we are looking for throughout the city. I am working with, I can't name names right now, but we're working with a lot of different groups who are in projects to redevelop and develop in the inner city, South Cobb, different areas in DeKalb, in Gwinnett, because the president understands that we don't want organizations coming in and moving the people out who live in these neighborhoods. We have to redevelop the neighborhoods, and we have to find affordable housing. We have to re-educate people coming out of prison. We have to help the homeless. We don't want our streets to look like LA and San Francisco. We want these people to become citizens that they want to be so that they can have their own jobs. And
Excuse
then
me,
we
ma'am.
also working on
Excuse me, ma'am.
projects. Oh,
Ma'am, I'm
sorry.
sorry, your time is
We're
up.
also working on projects for their housing. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from those in opposition.
Chairman, pursuant to your instructions, we extended it to 13 minutes, and the timer is on the podium when you're standing.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Sonia Wheatley. I've spoken in front of you often and typically with the Mableton Improvement Coalition. I do want to preface by saying that this is my independent position. The board has decided to remain neutral. First of all, it's hard not to begin this by saying that with all due respect to the East Cobb residents who have spoken, they are welcome to find some property in East Cobb since they are supportive of extending it in the community. I'm sure they can find a home there. This is an emotional case where where emotions and semantics of who's what are leading. It's been difficult. We spent months working on this. We have all personally devoted days. We've taken off multiple times of work. We have also visited the program. We have visited the site. We have been to it. We know where the intake is. Coincidentally, the intake center is closer to my house than is the proposed facility. So they are within a third of a mile of each other. The consensus is that this is really potentially an alarming spot zoning opportunity with dangerous conditions. Rezoning it the way they're trying puts entitlement on the property. Typically, these cases have, as we've seen, from chickens to hairdressers to all kinds of opportunities, have been addressed with land use permits. And I've seen with this board numerous permit applications where someone has tried to expand a program and been told, great program, we adore your work, we respect you, but too much, too soon, too intensive. This really is a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. Everybody is trying so hard to find a way to make it work. I don't think anybody, even the people I've spoken with, and myself included in opposition, are opposed to this program. We are opposed to it in its location. It does not meet the criteria. It does not meet the Steinberg criteria. There is one of the 6 that doesn't apply. It is not the correct future land use. It is not the correct zoning. It is going to have a negative impact on adjacent property owners. It requires light industrial. It destroys your code. It absolutely destroys the faith in people believing when they look at zoning, when they look at land use, when they look at planning, that they can know what's close by. We aren't opposed to this use. To the program. We are opposed with it being adjacent to neighborhoods. This board constantly has people with 4 chickens come in front of them. And we discuss the health, safety, and the property values because of a chicken. But we're going to bring 50 homeless people, not homeless, jobs. Again, it's semantics. These people have a criminal background. and we are going to go from 0 to 50. With all due respect, there's been a lot of conversation that the program has been operating in some capacity. Illegal use doesn't mean it's okay. If it's been operating without zoning, if it's been operating incorrectly, that shouldn't be a pass. There are a whole lot of things going on in our county illegal that they just haven't been caught. I mean, are we going to excuse those? We really understand that how people are passionate on both sides. I do. I get it. I believe that people have graduated this program and become hugely successful and valuable to themselves, their families, and the community. But more than 40% don't make it. They end up back out. This would be the only program. It's within 500 feet of residences, close to schools. We don't have that with the Sweetwater Mission. We don't have this kind of expanded use. We started this a year ago wanting 6 people. Here we are, 50 people. There's no way to make this work. There's no way to put conditions. I will step away.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having me today. I am a realtor and I actually sold 2 properties in Walden Crossing across from the proposed development.
Could you let us know who you are, please?
I'm
What-
Misha
which-
Mason, I'm sorry, with
That's
Keller
okay.
Williams.
Thank you.
So I actually sold 2 properties to the residents, to 2 residents in Walden Crossing across from the proposed development. And I just wanted to speak to the presence of this type of facility directly across from this community. When qualified buyers go out, in my experience, in 19 years experience, when qualified buyers go out to look for homes, one of the first things they do is determine if area is safe or not. And they do that by multiple means. They will do a Google map search, see what properties are or businesses are around them. They'll look at crime statistics. But one of the main things they do is just a visual assessment. They'll ride by the community, take a look and see who's, standing out, if there's a lot of foot traffic. Foot traffic and just a visual representation of what's there is typically what buyers use to determine if an area is safe or not. And so just having that facility in that location so close to that community, one would expect when properties do go on the market to sit there a little bit longer, and longer days on market ultimately results in a decrease in price. So I stand here representing not only the 2 clients that I personally put in that community, but also the other people who live in Walden Crossing, that they can expect to experience a decrease in property values as a result of having that facility directly across. And I'm not here to talk about statistics. I'm here talking about the buyer's perception and the impact. And buyer perception is what drives property values. So that's all I have to say. I stand here in opposition of not the program, but the location, perhaps having the program in a more industrial or commercial area where homeowners' equity is not at stake would be more appropriate, so that we could serve the needs of the homeless population as well as protect the communities that we want to reintroduce them to.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Ray Thomas. I am a member of a board member of the Mapleton Improvement Coalition, but like Sonia Whately, I'm not here today to speak on behalf of the Mapleton Improvement Coalition, whose position is neutral. I'm speaking independently and in opposition of this particular proposed zoning request. This is truly a classic and difficult case of trying to balance two competing ideals: the protection of community development and value versus the compassion and support of the less fortunate among us. Now, while job training and restorative services for the less fortunate are noble endeavors, the impact of this particular petition on nearby residential subdivisions would be an adverse effect. And so therefore, I am opposed to this particular case for 5 fundamental reasons. One, it is not in accordance with with the surrounding residential neighborhoods. This particular homeless shelter or restorative shelter or whatever semantics is used is less than 500 feet away from surrounding neighborhoods. As a matter of fact, I believe there's one house that's probably less than 250. Yeah, right about here. That's less than 250 feet away. Number 2, the zoning classification of LI is just simply too broad. Number 3, the proposed shelter is not in accordance, or the proposed zoning classification is not in accordance with the future land use map. And number 3, it is not in accordance with the Mableton design guidelines. Now, Attorney Moore mentions in his presentation that he shows us a rendering of a beautiful homeless facility. Well, folks, I've been involved in this for some time now, and that's the first time I've seen this rendering. And quite frankly, that rendering is a lot different than what the property, the condition and the state of the property currently. And again, this is the first time I've seen that rendering. Lastly, the argument that having men's restorative or development center would increase property value, I think is specious. I don't think there's anyone in here that actually believes that if a shelter were to be moved into one's neighborhood, that's going to bring the value of that neighborhood up. I have seen absolutely no study at all anywhere that supports that argument. So I'm opposed to this development, and I'll stop here and turn over to someone else to speak. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that you will vote down this proposal.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Patricia Alk, and I reside in Mableton, where this proposed shelter will be proposed. I know this, I hope that you will deny it, because I know that it pulls at the heartstrings of and the mission of a lot of people, good people who want to do good things for the less fortunate. But there's good people who live in Mableton now who have purchased homes and have hopes for better things for our community. Statistically, from the Georgia Works program, there's a very high turnover rate, and I don't think it should be ignored. It's something that can be quite serious. These men have criminal backgrounds, and statistically, even by Georgia Works' own admission, 2/3 of men or anyone who have been released from prison will reoffend at some point within 5 years. With the turnover rate being so high, it is very likely that they will reoffend and be in our community when that happens. From start to finish, from the minute of entry to the end of the success of the program overall is only 42% from the moment of entry to the end. I don't think that is a high enough success rate to really say that it warrants to be put in front of a subdivision. I hope you will consider the safety implications and the impact it will have on our neighborhood. And I hope you will deny this application. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Carrillo, and I live right across the street from this building on Twain Circle. You know, I'm for helping these men, but not in our neighborhood. I'd gone around, a friend of mine and I had gone around in the neighborhood informing the people. I went to the schools yesterday, and every single person does not know about this zoning. I feel it's a danger to our community, to our children, because we don't know these men, these people. The attorney said that this is a very strict, controlled program. Well, you have no control over a person's mind or actions. So they really have no control over the men. They may want to do this, these men, and that's great. But we don't know what their actions will be in the future. Plus, the community not knowing about this. So I just don't think that this should be put here. It should be put in another location.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming today. Okay, Commissioner Cupid? No, time's run out. We're done. We've run 13 minutes on both sides.
Okay. As has been observed, I'm sorry, the time has run. There's the same amount of time given for support as there is opposition. This is a very difficult case, as has been assessed by a number of people who have spoken. We've had tremendous support on both sides and support in opposition. And I think there are multiple factors that make this a tough issue for us. First, there's a recognized need for assistance of homeless in Cobb County and in Metro Atlanta. And there's an article written about Must Ministries and how they turn 200 to 300 people away a day in their site. And, you know, it's been noted how they have had their struggles in expanding their facility in Marietta. So we all recognize there's a need to address the homeless population, and there are homeless people in South Cobb, but there are homeless people across Cobb and across Metro Atlanta. But I think another pressing factor is zoning. The express purpose of zoning is to promote the health, safety, morals, and welfare of a community. And so it is not unreasonable for residents to ask us to exercise our zoning power to look at their health and safety of their community. But I also don't think it's unreasonable for Family Life Restoration Center for us to look at the general welfare of the community at large. Another factor going on is Mableton Parkway is a very old corridor. It's a state route, which already limits the county in being able to do some things along that roadway, but it has a lot of aged uses, some of which are in the inventory for the county for redevelopment, which are in very poor and unkempt conditions. But you've seen that contrasted with some investments in the area, such as the Walden neighborhood across the street. Recently, there's a shopping center that is improving its facade in the area and has made some structural improvements. The county will be expanding Silver Comet Trail to come down Mableton Parkway to Lee Industrial. And as was observed, there is a school coming on Factory Shoals in the area. So there is a lot of positive transition to help improve this corridor. The fourth factor that I think that makes this difficult is that Family Life Restoration Center has been a vital part of our community for some time, for over a decade. I remember being a new resident in the area, when Mr. Washington came to a county meeting, a town hall meeting, and asked for use of the old racquetball or racket world, and it is what it is today. And I know that there are times where I have personally called the director when I've seen homeless people, and he has come out and assessed that situation to see how he can address it. So there's a myriad of factors here that make this a very challenging issue for our community. But what I would like to recognize is that today this is not an issue about judging whether or not family life can continue to serve the community and serve the community well. Because Georgia Works is not yet a part of our immediate community, we've seen their stats for their other locations, but the jury's out on what their effectiveness will be in our community. This is not, even to me, an issue of whether or not we should provide homeless services and whether or not Cobb County has a homelessness problem. We do, and we should be addressing it. And it's known that we have a long ways to go just to address affordable housing, let alone homelessness. But this today is about zoning. This hearing today is about looking to see whether or not this is the appropriate site to put in a facility for men in transition, originally identified in a zoning application as a homeless shelter in an area where the zoning is currently for neighborhood retail, where the future land use map is a neighborhood activity center. Also, in looking at the surrounding uses, we look to see, is there a fit? And you see surrounding this area by the aerial to the west and also to the east and south of this property, there's residentially zoned property. Typically, these uses in Cobb are in light industrial areas for a reason. And I think we allow these facilities in light industrial areas to show that there is some sensitivity in ensuring there is a place to address these programs, but balancing that with the need to also protect the health and safety of people that live in the area. And I think today, as the application is provided, this use is far too intense, looking at it from a zoning perspective. When the applicant came to me well, let's talk about the history of this site. This site came to my attention when, in good faith, Family Life Restoration Center went to pull a fire permit to improve their location at the subject property to house people there. They thought from a prior zoning that they had the ability to have people there to the, I don't know what they thought the capacity was, but they thought they had this ability. When they went to pull permits, they found that they could not improve the site because they did not have the requisite zoning. When I received correspondence about it, again, I was mixed about it because according to Family Life, they had already had people coming in and staying there, but no one really seemed to be aware of it. And for some members who were aware of that prior zoning, they thought that this use was permitted. So what I did is I had a community meeting with residents and Mableton Improvement Coalition community leaders and Family Life Restoration Center. During that meeting, Family Life Restoration Center provided that their goal was to house up to about 5 people in this location. So even there was consternation and back and forth about the 5, but there was some concession. Well, you were doing it. We didn't really know that 5 people were staying there. Some of us thought you had this. Some of us didn't know you had it, but again, we didn't know. There seemed to be some accommodation from those in the room to allow this use. But I cautioned, even though people in the room may be supportive, you still have to come forward to the public. It still has to go through a public zoning process. On top of all the four challenges that I shared, the greatest challenge that I think that is here to people who could have potentially been supporters and who live proximate to the site is to have a change go from in 1 year to we're just doing this for 5 people and to all of a sudden seeing a zoning application for 75 people through a formal workforce development program, which was not communicated in that initial meeting. That just threw the community off, and including myself, but I still thought I'd go through and hear what the request is. But I think that's when you started to see this deterioration of even potential trust that was there for some that were in that initial meeting. I've read about Georgia Works. I've supported a race for Family Life Restoration Center. There are some men from Georgia Works that were there, very polite, very helpful men, but I still do not know about how this would work here. So as was brought up in the comments, something that we consider on this board that I can't say is necessarily akin to this application, but it's about housing people that may have additional supportive needs in residential spaces. We provide the land use permit process to facilitate group homes. When I first came on board, we had so many challenges with group homes in the community. It almost was like if you were coming in for a group home, you can expect for that application to be denied. And those applications were for much less than the number that is being provided. But what that permit did is a temporary permit for that applicant to bring in a number of people and to have conditions tied to that and to see if that works for the area. And then if it works for the time frame of that permit, you could come back in and request renewal, perhaps request an increase in the number of people for that area. But even it became so challenging with the way that some of the group homes were being run in Cobb or some of the impact of it, that we decided, hey, at least for our district, come in, and if you want a group home, you have to do it in a manner where you can have 4 people or less, which will allow you to do it without a permit. We need to test to see, can you even handle 4 people first before we will even go out of our way to apply a permit to provide 5, 6, 7, 8 people. I kind of see that being applicable in this situation, even though this is not necessarily in the middle of a residential area or in a residentially zoned property. I see this being considered as a land use permit, but consideration for a significantly smaller number of people as was originally addressed in that first meeting. That's the only way I could see acquiescing, because that would give the applicant some time to prove that they can house people without disruption to the community. It provides a shorter time duration for that to be considered. You can have the community weigh in on that. You have to come back before the Board of Commissioners. We can take a look and see how that's going to see if we pull the permit or if we continue to renew it and increase more people. That's the only way that I could consider something like this coming here. But that's not the request before us today. And I think it's really outside the bounds of me to propose that today, because that has not been addressed with the community to do something under that condition. And I've talked about it with the representative for the applicant, but I just don't think that's really been fleshed out to the point where I feel comfortable moving that forward with our zoning today. So today I'm not in a position to support this application. Again, it's not in accordance with the current zoning, and that's why people come before zoning to get something that's not in accord to the current zoning. But it's also not compatible with the future land use map for this area. It's a very intense development. It's rare even for housing people. It's very rare for us to put light industrial in the middle of a residential area. That is that is extremely rare without this kind of impact, even in a closed facility where people are doing light industrial work because the uses are so contrasting. So I cannot permit this as, or approve this as what is being proposed today. With that, again, this is a zoning decision for this parcel. There have been comments made by those in support. There have been comments made by those in opposition that we would like to see this population served. So I think as we move forward, I think there's opportunity to see where else could a facility be fitting. You know, this board, this community, we had a homeless proposition shared about putting something on county services, which was met with with broad opposition, and eventually was not supported by our chair nor other members of our community. And that was positioned on County Services Road, where there are a myriad of services to help people who are homeless, which would be more fitting than this community. One, you know, I did research on other homeless facilities.
Commissioner.
Yeah, I'm just sharing, I just want to share. I just think all of this should be weighed as we move forward.
Okay.
A lot of homeless facilities, they are positioned near supportive services, where there are health services, where there's transit, where there's other community support systems to wrap around and create an opportunity for somebody to have a supportive network around them. That is not this community. This community does not have those adjacent supportive uses, again, to help buoy this being here. But there are other places in Cobb County that may have it. So in addition to us looking at this from a permit perspective and looking at it from a smaller capacity, I would ask that those who are passionate about serving the homeless, who want to support Georgia Works, Family Life Restoration Center, facilities like it, help us help this community, help us help the county, help us help homeless persons by finding places in our county that are more fitted for this use. But as of today, my request is that we deny this for the subject property here today.
Okay. Have a second?
I'll second it. I have some comments.
Commissioner Ott?
I think Commissioner Cupid has a lot of valid points, especially when we look at a zoning, the number one thing that I look at is, does the zoning fit? And when you look at light industrial, it is a big departure from what's there. And the problem is there are many, many uses that are much more intense than this that go under light industrial. And so strictly from a zoning use, I would not be supportive. But I also think that it's important that you look at the use. We cannot deny that we have a homeless problem. You know, right around the corner from where I lived on the Windy Hill Road Bridge, there are two bridges, one on top of the other. There's a huge homeless community that lives on that bridge underneath. They're not being trained, they're not being helped to get back into the workforce. And so, you know, I think the program, what I heard here was a lot of people stand up and say that they support the program, that they're not opposed to what this organization's doing, yet every one of you said comments about the program, about the people that are in the program. So I would challenge every one of you to go back and listen to the comments that you made. Okay, you stood up here and told us that you weren't opposed to the program, but that's exactly what you told us. That you had a problem with the people that are in the program and that the program can't take care of the people that are in there. And there's no proof of that. You know, I have opposition to the zoning because light industrial does not belong in a neighborhood activity center. And there are multiple other uses that go with light industrial that should not be allowed in this area. But we cannot deny that we have a homeless issue. And we cannot put these people out on the street and expect the situation to change. I mean, that's no different than saying that places like the Zone and some of these others that are helping people with drug addictions, that they should go away, and that the people with the drug addictions, that, you know, Cobb County is no longer going to have the highest number of overdose deaths in the state because we don't want to address the situation. So I just think that we have to acknowledge the fact that we have a homeless problem. We have to come up with ways to address it. No, this may not be the exact location, but at the same time, we cannot just say no, 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 and expect the problem to go away. So my opposition to this zoning is purely with the fact that light industrial does not belong in this location. But with everything I've read about this program, what I know about this program, it is not a bad program. And it should not be denied on the basis of the use. It should be denied on the fact that it's light industrial.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. My question, I have a few questions. The GC strip below the property in question, that's not owned by the applicant, correct? It is? Mr. Moore, can you come up?
Yes,
It is?
it is.
Okay, so is that going to remain a buffer or undisturbed?
It's controlled by the 2012 zoning decision. I think that's the right year to call out, that rezoned the building NRC with conditions that provided for homeless services and programs. So it's a part of that. I think only the NRC piece was zoned at that time and the GC just remained. It was not involved in that zoning decision, but it's part of the property.
It
You find
is,
these
but
weird
it's-
situations like this, and that's one
But
of those.
it's not in this zoning,
No, it's not.
so it will remain GC and,
Right,
Correct.
it'll remain GC. Right,
okay.
it's not part of the
Well,
discussion today.
but it's there, I'm just asking if it's
Right,
owned by the same
right, it is.
group.
Mhm.
Okay, and then, I like Commissioner Cupid's idea, although that's not what we're here for or what's been proposed.
However.
But, if it were less intense, would it have to be LI? I mean, why is LI being requested instead of maybe NRC, since it's in a NAC, or a SLUP to go with the specific use?
I don't want to speak for Mr. Peterson or Mr. Rowling, but because this proposal is for services in a program for homeless men, even though it's part of a program that doesn't provide them a shelter, the category of LI does allow for, quote, homeless shelters. And what we're proposing didn't fit neatly into anything other than, and I felt like, and Mr. Peterson and Mr. Rowling all believe that we would rather be overly transparent in what we were proposing and not try to couch it as something it wasn't. That we can make the point that it's in fact not a shelter, it's a program, but that's why. So it was more we wanted to do it that way, and that if the board saw differently, the board could then place it in a different category that it felt more appropriate for those reasons if it was willing to approve this type of program at this location. So that's the answer.
But,
Yeah, because I
but
think
let
I
me-
think I have a way, I have a way out here,
You can delete it.
all right?
Well, just a question. John, this is a question for you. Because normally if, no, it's kind of going along with what Joanne and Lisa have said. Normally, if a zoning is denied, the applicant cannot come back and refile for that zoning for a year. However, does that apply to a land use permit?
Yes, it does.
So by denying this zoning, they would not be able to come back and potentially apply for what Commissioner Cupid was suggesting for a year.
It would be prejudiced for a year if the board rejected it.
Right, so, I mean, if they were to consider, or if Commissioner Cupid was willing to consider what her comments were, what really should happen is this should be held.
Right.
Because if we deny it, they can't do it for a year.
Yes. Yes, that's what the applicant's representative I have communicated, to hold it and see if a land use permit could be accommodated here. I'm concerned about the truncated time frame to present something new. I mean, there really needs to be additional communication with the community and
You
conditions
could
on
hold it
it.
more than 30
But,
days.
yeah, so I would just, okay, because typically we hold it, I thought it has been for.
Yeah, my concern
next
is that,
hearing.
I think you have a good idea with the consideration of land use permit. My concern was that if the board were to approve the motion to deny, then
Sure.
we get rid of that option.
Sure.
And with the concern about the time, you could hold it for 2 months, 3 months, whatever,
You
to
can
give
keep
plenty
holding
of
wherever you
time.
want to, right?
Yeah.
I think the way forward here, is Luther here today?
Yes, absolutely.
Or Luther, come on up. I think we have a solution here. It's called compromise. First of all, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We have to find a way to address both sides. And I think Commissioner Cupid had the kernel of an idea, if you're willing to work with this, because the biggest opposition is the concern of the residents. And we've gone, and her point about going from 5 to 70, that's very cogent. It's just too intense. But I think that if you're willing to consider letting the commissioner withdraw her motion and work with the people that are here today that are concerned about the safety, that if we took it to a smaller number, like something, I'm not going to give you a number, but if you work with them to see if they would be comfortable with the smaller number, because I think Commissioner Ott's comments are right too. There comes a time when you have to be part of the solution. If your answer to everything is no, not in my backyard, then there's never going to be a solution. But I think that if we go to a smaller number, and that gives us a time to breathe, and we're not going to give you a time to breathe, we're just going to work with that. If you go to a smaller number, then we can come back and see if you can address that concern with the neighbors, and maybe that's the compromise we're looking for here.
Yes, sir.
Because I've seen your program. You built it from nothing. I mean, you truly have God's hand. You're God's servant. So what I would like is if you'd be willing to consider the commissioner withdrawing her objection, her motion, and then going back and see if you can work with the neighbors to come back with a land use permit plan for a smaller number of people. And then you build on that. And then by doing that, you build the confidence of the community, and you might get them to come volunteer, all right, in your community there.
Yeah. I'm not, this is, yeah.
So was that something that would be
Absolutely.
amenable to you?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think, Commissioner?
Yeah, I'm just not in a position to do that yet, because again, there's been a lot that has transpired. This case has been continued, so this is what I can do to pave the way for you to have discussions with the community. And your attorney's here, so he would also seek for him to weigh in, is for us to withdraw this application without prejudice.
Yeah.
Allow you to go back through the entire process under a land use permit, with the community still having the opportunity to weigh in on another iteration of this. You would still have to go before the planning commission. The community would still weigh in. It would give us time to digest a new plan. But for today, I just think us holding it based off of these circumstances today would be a more difficult circumstance to not really address the concerns of the community adequately.
If I could ask a question, it's really more directed towards Mr. Peterson and Mr. Rowland. If we were evaluate that, if Mr. Washington was able to evaluate that and we were able to put together a
Sure.
plan and refile it, or not refile, but file an application for a land use permit, would that be accepted by the zoning department? Because that's not within specifically what land use permit applications are applied for. Given the direction that the board has provided, that would be something that the staff could accept and move forward process-wise. Not how you would view it, just simply process that application based on board direction.
The staff would take it if that was the board's direction.
Yeah.
So if you were amenable to withdrawing it, then I think what we need to do is have Commissioner Cupid withdraw her motion with the second. They would have you ask the board to withdraw it without prejudice and direct staff to accept the application without fee, because they already paid a fee for the zoning, and we'll hear it down the
Yeah,
road.
I think that's the best way to go. I want to hear from the board members, but I think this is something where we're trying to work this with everybody. The clear goal here is we want to make this work, all right? But we want to make it work for both sides, and the zoning issue would come back later on, after the discussions are made with the commissioner and the community. So Commissioner Burrow, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, that's,
So if that happens, would they just be applying for a land use permit? No NRC or LI or any other zoning?
Be a land use
Just a
permit.
land use permit
right.
for this specific use? And, and I would agree, less intense. But I also want to point out in the STIP letter, the security issue is very well addressed with security officer gated and fencing around the perimeter. So I think and cameras, I think you've done a good job with that, but it is a little still too intense. And I think if we could see another plan with the land use permit, I would support that as
Okay.
well.
So would you willing to do that, Commissioner Cupid?
Yes, I just want to, I want us to really put this in context of the number of applications we've had for land use permit in group homes. Because again, nothing but respect and appreciation for what Luther is doing. I do not think we should by any means limit the reasonableness of the concerns of the community. And I think we're saying we've got to fit this, but there have been many instances where I've seen group homes to address vulnerable populations, including children, denied in other districts and District 4 to house them under less tenuous circumstances of those persons. So just saying we need to do this and it needs to happen here and overriding their very valid concerns about an adult population, I want us to be as sensitive as we have been on these matters. I'm just not hearing, their concerns are to be validated. The security is a concern, because if people are not in the program, you can't control the will.
That's true, but they can come back at the LUP hearing and oppose it again. If you hear the
Exactly,
same
but
thing.
I just don't want to grease the skids because we're saying, well, I'll
We're
come
not
back
greasing-
and approve it. Their concerns should be as considered as any other.
Absolutely.
When we consider LUPs in residential areas, their concerns should be taken comparably to the concerns that we've had when similar uses have been put in their residential areas. That's all
Commissioner
I'm
Ott?
asking.
Thank you. Commissioner Cupid, I agree with you, okay? And my concern is, and I have had a couple zonings kind of rammed down my throat, and the consequences have not been positive as a result. So you've heard my comments,
Yes, sir.
but this is in your district, okay?
Thank you.
And whatever decision you decide to make, I will support.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And I'll say the same thing. Also, I mean, it's your district.
Thank you.
So I realize this is a tough one, but the other part is that, hey, we have to also support our commissioners in their district because they know their district better than we do.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate this. This allows us at least a path forward for consideration for this. So it would be my request. Well, let me just put this in a form of a motion. I move to withdraw my prior motion for denial. And
okay, so that's been withdrawn.
all
Okay.
right, we need to have.
Now you have,
Do we need to have a vote for that motion?
no,
to withdraw?
no,
No?
no.
It's
Not
considered
to
too low.
withdraw?
right.
Okay. So I move that I move that the applicant, yes.
We need to have them ask it first.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That,
Good. Commissioner Cupid, given that consideration, respectfully, we request that the board consider allowing us to withdraw this application without prejudice, which
That's all you
is
have to
our
say.
request.
That's
and
all you
then
got to say.
We'll evaluate those other possibilities going forward, and if that's a direction, we would then have to refile an we would file an application. We'd obviously be in touch with the community to do so, but that certainly would remain a possibility, and it would go through the process and be considered by everyone at a later date.
Right.
But that's our request, that the board allow us to withdraw this without prejudice.
okay. And I support that And I would ask that we waive any fees associated with their application for the land use permit.
I'll make a second, if I can make a suggestion. Instead of putting in your motion for the land use permit, I would just suggest that you just say, if they refile
If-
an application,
Okay,
period, that we waive the fees.
okay.
So instead of appearing to be directing.
Right.
Because if
I
we say
appreciate
for the
that.
land use permit,
No.
and then they come with a land use permit, and we say no,
Yeah.
well, they said, well, you told us to apply for it.
No, I think that's an astute
So I would just say,
observation.
allow any future application for this site,
Yes.
that we waive the fee.
Okay. So
That
I
would be my
move-
suggestion.
I'm not used to making this motion. Usually the chairman will ask or something. There will be another statement provided, so it's odd for me to
You're doing great.
to verbalize this. But I move that we approve the withdrawal of this application and waive any fees for their reapplication to zoning.
Second.
Withdraw without prejudice.
And that, yes, that is withdrawn without
So we have a
prejudice.
Second.
Bill, you had a comment?
Commissioner, if you don't mind, you just said reapplication for zoning. It might not necessarily be zoning, so if we just
Reapplication through the zoning.
okay.
Reapplication, just say reapplication.
Okay, we good? You got the language? Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Call the question. Passes 4-0. Commissioner Gamble in absence. And with that, we'll take let's say 10 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
problem. Okay, ready to go. Do it. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, well, we're back from our short break. And now we're on to other business. And John, I believe you have two cases that are both in Commissioner Burrow's district.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we do. And for the record, my name is John Peterson. I am the zoning division manager for Cobb County. The first item is other business number 16 of 2019, which is to consider a site plan and stipulation amendment for Duncan Land Investments LLC regarding rezoning case Z127 of 2005. The property is located on the west side of Shaw Road, north of Mitchell Falls Court, in land lot 520 of the 16th district. By way of background, Mr. Chairman and Board, the subject property was rezoned to the R20 OSC zoning district in 2005 for a 7-lot subdivision. This other business item is just for lot number 7, which is located on the north side of the property on Shaw Road. Lot 7 had a 25-foot building setback and 15-foot landscape buffer placed on it at the time of zoning to help screen it from the large acreage lot next door. The property to the north was recently rezoned to R15 as Z16 of 2019. The applicant does not believe that the setback buffering and fencing is needed anymore since the property was rezoned. The applicant is also trying to stay away from a creek on the south side of the property, so they're trying to push things north a little bit. Additionally, the applicant would like to revise the required house architecture from 3 sides brick or stone with a hardy plank siding on the rear to brick, stone, shake, or a combination on the front, with hardy plank on the sides with a brick water table and hardy plank on the rear. If approved, all conditions not in conflict would remain in effect. The applicant is present, Mr. Chairman. The staff would ask the Board of Commissioners to conduct a public hearing to consider the proposed site plan and stipulation amendment. Is there anyone here opposed to this item? Is there anyone here opposed to other business number 16?
No, there's not.
Okay.
They're not here.
And Mr. Duncan is here today if you have any
Okay.
questions.
So we have no one in opposition, so I'm not sure why we can take this. What is the staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, the staff will recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the request subject to the 25-foot building setback line to be reduced to a 15-foot building setback line. The fencing is not required, but fencing may be added to the buffer area if it is there to provide screening and sound reduction. Final house architecture to be approved by the District Commissioner. DOT comments contained in the other business item, and all previous conditions not in conflict to remain in effect.
Okay. Commissioner Burrow?
I am in agreement of the 25-foot setback being reduced to the 15-foot landscape buffer. There is a subdivision on this that was recently approved, and I talked to the owner of that property, and he would be agreeable to keeping the 15-foot landscape buffer, but not the 25-foot setback. So, and I just spoke with the applicant. So that would be my motion to approve the side setback next to the R15 with a 15-foot landscape buffer as the setback. And the fence may be removed as well. That's up to the applicant if he wants to keep it or remove it. As far as the architect, I think it needs to stay the same as what was zoned originally, because the rest of the subdivision, all 6 lots are built and occupied. So I wouldn't want to change the architect when this is the last lot to be built. So my motion is to approve a 15-foot landscape buffer on the R15 side, 3011 Shaw Road, and all other and the fence can be removed, and all other steps remain the same.
We have a second? Okay, any discussion?
And all staff comments.
And all staff comments and recommendations, not otherwise in conflict.
John, I just got a question about that. Because in looking at this, the setback changes, and some of these may have been with the original zoning, but you know that I always kind of look at, are the setback reductions increasing the size of the, buildable box, so to speak? Now, with the changes that Commissioner Burrow is proposing, does that kind of put it back more in perspective that we're not overbuilding on this lot?
In my opinion, Commissioner Ott, the board would not be allowing an overbuilding of this lot with the reductions that are being asked for. He's actually trying to move it away from the creek that's on the south property line.
Okay.
So it should make things better.
Okay, all right.
And it's just this one side. The other setbacks are remaining the same
Correct.
on the other sides and rear.
Okay, any other discussion? Call the question. Passes 4-0 with Commissioner Gamble in absence.
And, Mr. Chairman, before you start the next one,
Sure.
Because my wife's
Right.
working at the academy, and as I've stated in the past, I have to recuse myself from
Sure.
the next one. So I will be leaving the.
Perfectly understandable. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, the next item is other business number 28, which is to consider a site plan installation amendment for Mount Bethel Christian Academy Incorporated regarding SLEP 11, 2013. The property is located on the north side of Post Oak Road, west of Holly Springs Road, and land lots 599, 600, 625, and 626 of the 16th District. By way of background, the applicant was granted a special land use permit by the Board of Commissioners in 2013 for a private school. One of the stipulations approved the property is site plan specific. The applicant would like to revise the approved site plan to place a 6,144 square foot modular classroom building near the center of the property. The proposed modular building is needed until funding can be raised to build a more permanent building. The proposed modular building would be 1 story in height and would be painted to match the existing school building. The applicant would also place skirting and landscaping around the bottom of the building to help hide the bottom of the building. The applicant anticipates they would need this building through 2025 until funding can be raised. The applicant would also like to extend their current modular buildings approval, which expires June 2020 to June 2025. If approved, all previous conditions not in conflict with this amendment should remain in effect. The staff would ask the Board of Commissioners to conduct a public hearing and consider the proposed site plan and stipulation amendments. The applicant is present. Earlier, there were 14 people opposed and 4 in support. All those wishing to address the board, please come forward to be sworn in.
How you doing?
Oh. Interesting.
Mr.
When you're
Nave,
ready-
I'm
when
sorry,
you're
Mr.
ready,
Nave,
Mr.
before you start, Chairman, are we 10 minutes on this one as well, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me, Mr. Nave.
When you're ready, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nay, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Members of the Board of Commissioners, I'm Jim Nay, and I'm here on behalf of Mount Bethel Christian Academy, as a matter of fact. This is a very, very important request for us because it's absolutely essential to permit the healthy growth and space for which this school must have in order to operate. Our request is rather straightforward today, and that's a good thing, and we're proud to be able to say that. It's clearly set forth in the condition letter that Mr. Peterson just read to you and that we provided to him earlier on. There is one revision that I would like to make to that request that he has suggested. We would like to change the date for both maturities of the 2 parcels to be June 1st, 2020. June 1st, 2020, so it's a 1-year extension, if you would. We have an existing temporary modular classroom right now, and it's shown in green on the site plan. Pardon me. In addition, we want to place an additional temporary modular site plan and classroom. It's shown in red on the site plan, and its expiration date, again, as we have said, would be June 1, 2020. We would like to have a renewal of these dates through that time, and we think that's a reasonable request. Most of these modules are rather centrally located on the property itself, so it should not affect anyone whatsoever on this large 33-acre tract. We think no one will be harmed, injured, or even involved. It's very difficult to estimate and predict the actual number of students and the growth that we'll have in our facility, so we must react rather rapidly, and that's what we've done in this instance. When we needed to, we put in temporary modular home facilities to take care of classrooms. It's the only way we can respond to it, rather than building permanent buildings, as Mr. Peterson showed you, as a matter of fact. Please let me be assured and assure you that our letter sent to you on the May 15, 2008, 19 letter, it was addressed to Mr. Peterson, and it clearly covers each of the items which we want covered, except for three things, if you will, please. Number one, it will be a June 1, 2020 expiration for both facilities. Number two, we want to agree with the East Cobb Civic Association on two particulars which they've asked for. They asked for that all previous stipulations remain in effect, and we're happy to do that, adding a little bit of a suffix to that that says, only if there's a conflict, the most current one shall control, and I think that's a perfectly reasonable change to be made. Secondly, that the district commissioners shall have final approval over landscape plans for this new modular. We agree to that and think that's helpful and can be awfully helpful in every respect. In our letter, we put 5 additional conditions in, which we hope you will find satisfactory and think they're things that have already been agreed to and understood. Both of these modules are absolutely necessary to operate a vital school. We will let them remain where they are as long as we possibly can with a reasonable, and then we'll move on to a more permanent building. I want to call to your attention that if this was a public facility or public school, absolutely none of these requirements would be imposed. We'd be completely free of them in every sense whatsoever. Secondly, I just want to call to your attention, we're agreeing to comply with the Cobb County noise ordinance. We're not required to do so. We're exempt from it, but we're expressly agreeing to do so because we think it's in the best interest of ourselves and our neighbors to do so. Now, let me please note that if we have reviewed and complied with all of ECC's requests, the East Cobb Civic Association's requests, they made 3 very particular ones, and we've complied with each of the 3, if you would. Therefore, we think there's no basis for denying this because we have complied with the things that our opponent has asked us to do. Let me close this segment by saying a favorable vote for this matter is absolutely essential for the operation of our facility, and we beg and ask for your passage of this matter. I have with me this morning Mr. Steve Colley, who is the facilities director for the Christian Academy. And if you would like to ask questions or like him to review anything, he would be delighted to do so. With that, we'll answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. Nay, thank you. Any questions from the members of the board? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else in support of this? All right, then we'll open the floor to those who are in opposition. Hello. There you go.
I think we surprised.
You did indeed. Check my watch. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Jill Flam. I'm East Cobb Civics Association's representative on this case. I thank the applicant for agreeing with our proposed recommendation on stipulations for this case, and hope in the future that we will be timely informed of any other changes they intend on doing to their campus.
Duly
Thank you very
noted,
much.
and we agree with you, Ms. Flam. Thank you. I believe Commissioner Burrow, you have the floor.
Okay, I didn't know if
Oh,
anyone
I'm sorry,
else was
I need to
gonna
hear,
speak.
John just sort of blended in with the audience. I thought they were going to stand up in opposition. But staff recommendations, please.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, the staff would recommend the Board of Commissioners approve the request, subject to the applicant's stated maturity date of June 1st, 2020. Fire Department comments contained in the other business packet, the site plan contained in the other business packet, and all previous conditions not in conflict remain in effect.
Good. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Burrow.
Thank you. Well, I'd first like to say thanks to all of you here the neighbors behind here, East Cobb Civic Association. And again, just a memory, fond memories of Trish Steiner, who worked very diligently on this case, as well as many others in not only my district, but District 2 as well. So, okay, we had several community meetings with the neighbors. I've met with the applicant several times, and I think this is a good plan moving forward. I would like to submit, for the record, the applicant's stip letter dated May 15th with the revisions to number 5, with the expiration date of both modulars through June 1st of 2020. That will give them a year for the existing one, and which expires in anyway, but the new one to see how it goes, and I'm sure the neighbors will keep me informed if there are any issues. Also in the stip letter, numbers 1 through 4 kind of outline the additional steps that the applicant is willing to take to make this work for everyone. So number 1, you're looking at the site plan that is currently that we will approve today. Any other changes to this will have to come back to the board for approval. So, and that is attached to the stip letter dated May 15th from Mr. Jim Nay. So that will be in the record, and I'll give this to the clerk. And then also the recommendations from the East Cobb Civic Association letter that we received, I believe, on Friday. I don't have a date on here, but I think it was Friday. So I would like to make a motion that we approve other business item number 28. Stip letter from Mr. Nay dated May 15th, and recommendation from East Cobb Civic Association, adding to stip number 1, all previous stipulations to remain in effect, not otherwise in conflict. District Commissioner have final approval of the landscape plan, and then the also the 6,200 square feet of the new modular and the landscape plan for that new modular be approved by the District Commissioner. And I believe there are 60 days for that to be completed. And also Mr. Colley, who is here today, and his cell number is in stip number 4, and he is the contact person. So if there are any violations of the noise ordinance between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., that he is the contact information for that. And then the expiration date of June 1, 2020.
Good.
Is that everything? John? Okay.
Okay.
And thank you again to everyone for your diligence.
And I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion? Call the question. Passes 3-0 with Commissioner Gamble and odd in absence. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you all.